So did your dad ever play, or was he only the umpire?
He tried to play.
Oh, okay.
He went and tried out for a team when he was living in Dayton, Ohio.
Okay.
And he went to try out for the team, and he was so bad that the manager of the team ran him off the plate, ran him off the field.
Ran him off the field.
Because
just chased him out of there.
Just say, my father was like, I can pitch, and say, well, come on, pitch a game for us, and you'll see what you got. He said everything you threw up to the home plate was a home run. They hit ball after ball. Kept knocking.
That's bad.
And the manager came running out. I thought you said you could pitch. Because back in those days, that if you said you could do something, they just put you on the field and have you
give you a shot.
Try it out in front of the fans and everything.
Oh, really? In front of the fans?
Oh, yeah. This is the actual game that happened.
Oh, okay.
But he said probably 30,000 people, and he probably exaggerated a little bit. I'm sure there were 30,000 people in the stands. But probably a good 2,000 or 3,000 people were at the game.
Sure.
And he got run out of the ballpark. But he loved the game of baseball so much that he was determined to have a career doing something in the game. He said, well, maybe I can't be a player, but he was in World War II and got injured. He was one of the first Black Marines in our country. They call them the Montfort Point Marines.
Montfort Point Marines.
And Montfort Point Marines. And got the Congressional Gold Medal of Honor back in 2012.
Oh, that's very impressive.
Those who were still living. Only about 400 were left at the time.
Right.
And he was one of those 400 and got the Congressional Gold Medal of Honors by Barack Obama at that time. And so
was he in the Pacific Theater or in the Germany, Europe?
Yeah, Pacific Theater.
Pacific Theater.
Yeah.
Okay.
Saipan, Tinian, Saipan, Tinian, Guam, and Okinawa. He would always say.
Oh, okay.
I was in Saipan, Tinian, Guam, and Okinawa.
Okay.
Yeah. So he was in the South Pacific, and he got shot. As he would say, he got shot up and injured. Oh. He always said, I got shot up in the toe.
Oh, no.
And he got injured. And so he was at they put him in the hospital. And he said from his room, he could hear the guys who were also, who had been injured out playing a baseball game.
Oh.
And so he said he hobbled down with his little cane, hobbled down to where they were playing this baseball game just to be nosy.
Yeah.
And they, these are all, guys who were, in the war, that his fellow cadets and officers. And he said that they said, hey, we need an ump. Since you can't run or anything, can you umpire the game for us? He says, sure. I've always done that. Bob Motley would always say he's done everything.
Even if he hadn't.
Even if he hadn't. And he umpired. That was his first start of umpiring a baseball game.
Oh, no way.
He liked it.
Yeah.
He liked it, and he thought, this is how I can be a part of the game. And then he liked it when he learned more that the umpire really controls the game. That's when he really fell in love with it.
So was he behind the plate or all over the place like most of them are, I guess?
All over the place.
Okay.
All over the place. But he started off in the Negro League. He started off being the third base umpire.
Okay.
And then as he worked himself up, he went around and finally got to, he said, when he got to be the home plate umpire, he said there's no turning back. He was not going to, from then on, he was the home plate umpire. Because they were the ones who really controlled the game.
Sure.
And and most people don't realize, even to this day, if you watch a baseball game or anything, you don't realize that the umpires are the people that run the game.
Yeah.
And he loved that. And he would throw players out of the game, in the Negro Leagues. He said he would actually, he would tell the manager, he'd tell him, get all your, when the team was batting, if he's having problems with some of the players, he'd tell the manager, put every single one of these players in the locker room. I don't want to see another face. If you go as you get them one by one. one by one, like they had to come to bat.
Okay.
And so he was a badass.
Sounds
He
like
was a
it.
badass.
You don't
He
mess
was
around.
a badass.
And
He
I
didn't
know-
mess around.
Yeah, yeah. And you're wearing a shirt that says "You're out." Was he kind of famous for his
Yeah,
gestures,
yeah.
calling somebody out?
Absolutely.
Who's the artist on that, by the way?
I'm not sure. That's a guy. This guy, he lives in Philadelphia. I can't think of his name, but he lives in
I
Philadelphia.
was just curious because we saw it online too as a painting, and we were curious about it.
But yeah, he was a badass. He didn't mess around. He didn't, because he knew that, being a former Marine, being such a badass there.
Right.
When he got to the Negro Leagues, he thought, oh, these guys don't know who I am and what I can do.
Oh, okay.
So he had, got into fights and arguments, and he would be ready to fight anybody who had to challenge him.
No kidding. So did he ever actually exchange blows with anybody?
He almost did. One player, they were on a bus with the Monarchs, Kansas City Monarchs.
Okay.
It's a great story. So my dad always sat in the back of the bus. He said, I always sat in the back of the bus. He said, no matter how far we had to go, I sat in the back of the bus and always kept my face mask near me or in my hand. So if I fell asleep, I'd have my face mask somewhere because you never know what those players are going to do.
Oh, really? Okay.
And he said, so I had my face mask ready to pop somebody's skull off if I needed to.
Okay.
He said, so they were just finished a game somewhere, who God knows where. And they're in the bus. And one night they were going through some dark area, down some freeway, some highway. And back then there was not like the freeways there are now. So it's all dark.
Okay.
And he said, this player named, what's his name? I forget his name. Oh God, I can't remember the player's name. Anyway, the player was mad at him because my father threw him out of the game. At the game, at Hank Bayless was his name. Hank Bayless was the player's name.
Okay.
Hank Bayless was upset because my father threw him out of the game.
Okay.
So Hank Bayless waited until the bus got into the dark area and came up to my father with my father's a big butcher knife.
A butcher knife.
Big old butcher knife. Butcher knife.
Whoa. He
And
was serious.
he's gonna kill him.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Wow.
And my father said they had my face mask, so he said we started fighting. He's trying to knife me, and I'm throwing my face mask at him. He said Buck O'Neill. Speaking of Buck, he said Buck O'Neill was the manager. He said Buck O'Neill saved my life or
Saved
Hank Bayless's
life.
life.
Yeah.
That night, and came up and broke up the fight.
Okay.
And he's got really on Hank Bayless because he said, "What is wrong with you? You're trying to kill this umpire. If you harm this umpire, you can go to jail and you'll never play another baseball game in your life. What's wrong with you?" And he basically broke up the fight and basically saved my father and Hank Bayless's life that night.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So it was things like that. And my father also said, when he was umpiring a game, that the fans were even worse than the players.
Oh, really?
The fans, he said they were, the women, he said the women did not mess around when it came to their baseball game and their players.
And
he said they would
umps.
try to kill you.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah. At the umpires.
That's seriously rooting for your
serious. It's serious. So it was a different world back in the Negro Leagues in a wonderful way, wonderful and fun way.
Right.
But they love their games and love their players. Yeah. So many great stories.
Excellent. Did he ever ump a game with Satchel Paige playing?
Oh, many.
Many. Okay. That must have been interesting.
Many. Yeah. Yeah, he said Satchel was a heck of a ball player. He said he was definitely the best pitcher he'd ever saw.
Yeah.
He said many times when Satchel threw so hard that when the catcher caught the ball, he would he said, ugh, because it hit his hand so hard.
Yeah, yeah.
He's so painful. And back then, before the gloves, they had gloves like they have nowadays. Right. He said, so those pitches were really fast. He said, could have been, well over 100 miles an hour at that time.
Good Lord. Wow.
They didn't have the
guns, the radar
equipment they
guns.
have now. Yeah. In fact, they have nowadays, but it was really something. He said, and many times the catcher would catch the ball and fall back into my father. If he was, played umpire, he would fall back into my father because, he was...
From the force of the pitch?
The ball was the force of the pitch.
Wow.
He said, and the ball would come to the plate. Yeah, he said, it would come up to the plate and it would dip down that way or dip down. He said, you never knew which way the ball was going to go when Satchel was throwing. He said, you never knew.
It must have been hell to try to hit that.
Yeah, he said, so you had to keep your eye on the ball. He said, you had to keep, because you never knew what Satchel was going to throw up there.
Wow, that's incredible.
He said, don't have Satchel throw something, and I call it a ball, and Satchel thought it was a strike.
Oh, really? What would he do?
Oh, yeah.
He would shout it out?
He walked down toward the plate. He said, did you miss one ump? And my father said, no, I ain't missed, take his face mask off. No, I ain't missed nothing. Now you get back up to the mountain, you pitch the game. I'm calling the balls and strikes down here. So it was that kind of
back and forth.
back and forth. And he said, but Satchel, he said Satchel thought that everything he threw was a strike. He said most times it was.
Right, but occasionally.
But sometimes, occasionally not. He didn't like having you called a ball on him. Wow. He said, so they have their uns and offs, but he was a great pitcher. Wow. The best of all time. Yeah. By far.